Hey guys, what is going on? McMull2 here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be taking a look at the top 10 Zetas for territory battles for the Hoth invasion. This is going to be focused just on light side characters, obviously, because you can only use light side characters. So we'll go ahead and go through the top 10 Zetas I think are going to be best for your teams overall, so you guys know which Zetas you guys should really focus on. There are going to be a few honorable mentions as well, a few Zetas that could have made the top 10 list, but just got eked out by other ones. So let's go ahead and take a look at number 10. First up at number 10, we have Fulcrum Ahsoka with her Whirlwind Zeta. This Zeta gives her -1 cooldown, 50% armor penetration, and the attack cannot be evaded. She is a rebel, so she's going to be quite useful in territory battles as well. And then with all the buffs that your characters can give out in the rebel teams, she's really going to be able to do a lot of damage. Getting the Zeta on her Whirlwind is going to cause her to do a lot of damage very quickly. It's going to make her do a rotation of her basic attack, her meditate, and her Whirlwind. She's going to be going a lot, especially if you use her under a wedge lead, and she gets a lot of crits on this Whirlwind. She's pretty much going to go again right after. So that's why I think that she has a pretty good Zeta here for territory battles. It's not a lot higher because it relies so much on buffs to really get that damage in. So that's why she's back here at number 10. At number 9, we have the Zeta Unique for Beerus Swift Recovery. It allows an ally to recover 20% of their maximum health every time that they sustain a critical hit. This is going to be very useful in some places. If you were to use it behind a General Kenobi lead, Kenobi's going to really be able to take a lot of damage. He's going to take a long time before he dies. That's going to allow your team to really deal out a lot of damage and stay alive. And that's why this Zeta is here, is because it really just helps keep your team alive. But the main problem with this Zeta is that it relies on critical hits, and in a PvE environment like this with territory battles or raids or anything like that, there's not going to be a lot of sustained critical hits coming from the opposing team. This is not like Arena where everybody's stacking critical chance up, so there's not going to be a lot of benefit for running this Zeta, but when the enemy does land critical hits, the Zeta is really going to shine because it's really going to help keep your team alive for that much longer. At number 8, we have the Zeta for R2D2 on his Combat Analysis Unique. It allows a light side character to cleanse all debuffs from themselves whenever they score a critical hit. This is very useful, especially when you're fighting against characters like the Imperial Probe Droid who inflicts a target lock, and then that instead allows a lot of debuffs to be placed on your team. Getting this in on your characters and help them score critical hits is really going to help cleanse your team, help prevent all those debuffs stacking up, because once that target lock gets applied, it's really going to help turn the tide of the battle in the favor of the Empire, and that's why this one is here, is because it's really going to help your team stay alive and be able to prevent a lot of debuffs and be able to fight through the battle. But the problem with it is that it relies on critical hits, so unless you have something like a critical chance up buff from Leia or Han or something like that, you're not going to see a lot of usefulness out of this, but it's still a very, very useful Zeta. At number 7, we have Commander Cody and the Leadership Zeta Ghost Company Commander. This allows clone allies to get bonus defense and crit chance and also regenerate 5% protection every time they use a basic ability. You're probably surprised this is number 7. I was too originally when I was thinking about it, but once you start considering the fact that your clone teams don't really have the ability to really do well in the later phases like 5 and 6, they just don't bring the damage to the table that you're going to need to quickly get through those phases, and that's why it's back here at number 7. Your clone teams are still going to be very good for the first few phases up through like phase 4, but after that they really start to fall apart and they're just not going to be as viable. But it's still a pretty good team. If you already have a clone team, you can definitely look at this. It's really going to help you get scores in on the first few early phases, but this is definitely not a long-term and sustainable Zeta to have throughout the entire phase, and that's why I have it so far back here. At number 6, we have the Zeta on Luke's Unique. It binds all things. It gives him additional potency, and then every time he applies a debuff, he gains 10% Terminator and applies half that to allies. So each debuff is going to give other allies 5%. This is a very good Zeta for Commander Luke. It's really helpful in pretty much all phases of the game. But here in territory battles, it's really going to shine because every offensive ability that Commander Luke uses applies to debuffs. So for each ability that uses, he's going to gain 20% turn meter on his own, and he's going to give 10% to other allies. This really helps your team go faster, plus the fact that Commander Luke can counter on his own really helps him do much better here. All these debuffs is going to really help your team do a lot more damage, do a lot more moves because they're going to be moving faster with all the turn meter bonuses, and that's why this is a pretty good Zeta, especially since Commander Luke is a rebel anyways. You're going to be losing him a lot in territory battles, so getting the Zeta on him is really going to be useful for these rebel teams, really help them move a lot faster, deal out more damage, and that is why this is here at number 6. At number 5, we have the Zeta for Jin's leadership ability. It allows rebel allies to generate 5% protection every time they gain a buff. This is a very useful Zeta. Jin is going to be useful because not only does Rogue One become a required team for one of your final combat missions, but also this Zeta makes her very good for rebel teams overall. This protection regeneration is very useful because in a combat mission, survivability is key. So making sure that you can bump up the protection and make everybody stay alive for the entire time is what's going to help you finish these combat missions. So if you run her with characters like Leia or OG Raid Han, all those buffs that they're going to be giving out is really going to help boost up protection, not to even mention turret. So looking at this Zeta, it's definitely a very good one to run for your rebel teams overall. And one of my earlier videos talking about the optimal character lineups, I talked about how the Jin Zeta lead is going to be very useful for rebel teams, and that's definitely applied so far from what we've seen. A lot of people have used Jin as their lead for rebel teams, and they've done just fine, keeping everybody alive and healthy for the entire duration of a combat mission. So that's why you definitely want to look at putting the Zeta on Jin. At number 4, we have R2D2's other unique number crunch. This really is quite a useful Zeta. It allows R2D2 to gain a lot of bonus stats depending on who's around him, and then he gives 10% of his max health, protection, offense, and potency back to other characters as well. So this is a very good Zeta for R2D2. It's really going to be helpful here because a lot of your main teams for territory battles are going to be light side characters, and R2D2 has synergy with pretty much all of them. So this number crunch is really going to help boost up everybody's protection and offense and health, and like we said before, survivability is key. So having R2D2 on any light side team is really going to make them quite useful, really help them do more damage, stay alive longer, and that is what makes his Zeta here so good. Not to mention that it also gives a lot of high boost stats to R2D2 himself. So that is why this Zeta is here at number 4. It's a really quite useful Zeta. It's a really good support Zeta, and it's really going to help him fill out any team that he gets placed on. At number 3, we have the Zeta for Chirpa's leadership ability, so that whenever an Ewok ally uses this special ability, they have a 60% chance of calling in a random Ewok ally to assist. I know everybody loves their Ewoks, but Ewoks are actually a really, really good territory battle team. All these assists coming in from the Zeta on Chirpa's lead, plus adding in low grade to your team, is really going to help your team stay alive for the entire fight. It's really going to help call in a lot of attacks very quickly. That's the main effect of your Ewok teams, is that can call in a lot of assists in a very short amount of time and really do a lot of damage. Granted, some of their damage is a little low, but calling in all these assists is really going to add up quickly. Plus, it's really going to help prevent the other team from moving because of characters like Tebow and Logray. So getting the Zeta on Chirpa is really going to help make your Ewok teams that much deadlier for territory battles. Really going to help them do a lot of damage. It's really going to help boost your territory point score overall. So definitely look at putting the Zeta on Chirpa if you love your Ewoks and you really want to try running them in territory battles. At number 2, we have the Zeta on Han's unique. He gains a 10% additional crit chance, and then every time he uses his basic, he's going to do a second attack that deals a little bit less damage. But this is going to be very useful because at the beginning of every wave, Han is going to be able to do a double tap, and the stun from his opening shot cannot be resisted. So getting this Zeta on him is really going to make him do a lot of damage. He's going to become one of your best rebel attackers overall because of this Zeta. It's going to make him do a lot of damage, plus the counter chance. Really going to add in there every time an enemy attacks him and he counters, that first shot's going to be dealing bonus damage anyways because they have no turn meter. So look at this Zeta if you really want to have a good rebel attacker, and if you're already running someone like a Commander Luke lead or a Jin lead, he's already going to fit in there because of the counter chance or the buffs that he's going to be giving out. So look at him as a very good rebel attacker all around. Definitely look at trying to get him into your rebel teams for territory battles. Now, before we get to number 1, let's go ahead and take a look at some of our honorable mentions. For these honorable mentions, these are ones that could have made the top 10 list, but were just found to be worse than some of the other ones on the list. So they're not bad Zetas, they're still very good Zetas, like Cassian's Protection Up buff, really going to be useful when synergizing with a Jin Zeta lead. Same with K2SO, that max protection regeneration is really going to help him become a wall behind a Rogue One team with the Jin Zeta lead. You have the taunt on Old Men, that allows him to do a secondary taunt, so it's allowing him to taunt much longer, plus that allows to synergize with his Strike Me Down unique. That really makes him a good tank for your rebel teams. And then finally, the Zeta unique for Rey. That makes her a pretty good attacker overall. That Daze is going to be really useful, especially for preventing counterattacks or assist attacks. So it's still a very good Zeta there to have as well. So these are some pretty good Zetas. Also look at these if you don't have the other Zetas or you don't want to use them. Definitely look at these Zetas as well. Now, for number 1, our number 1 spot on the top 10 Zeta list for territory battles is Pow with his awesome unique where he gains bonus turn. Wait, that's not right. This is much better. Number 1, we have Finn. You guys probably saw us coming from a long way away. Resistance teams are incredibly good for territory battles. The Zeta lead on Finn allows them to gain bonus turn meter and cooldown reductions every time they deal out damage from an expose. There's a lot of exposes coming from your resistance allies, so this Zeta is really good. It allows them to tear through territory battle missions in no time at all. They pretty much can end an entire combat mission but never land the enemy take any turns. So this Zeta is very good. If you're looking to completely dominate combat missions that don't require rebels or certain factions, this is definitely a Zeta you want to look at. This is a very, very powerful Zeta, not just here, but in Arena and Raids too. So this is a very, very good Zeta overall in the game. But for here with territory battles, it shines like nothing else. This just makes your resistance teams incredibly deadly and makes them one of the best teams to use for territory battles overall. So yeah, guys, that is it for this top 10 list. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask down below in the comment section. If you all like this video, you subscribe to my channel for more content in the future. And also feel free to like and share this video. I hope you guys have good luck in your next territory battles. Hopefully this has given you a good guidance on what Zetas you guys should prioritize for territory battles. But as always, guys, good luck with the territory battles. I will talk to you guys later.